stuck in a suffering loop? If so, let's talk about using your agency, not blame, to move again. From sorting things properly to using psychological tools that work in real life, I'll try to offer a blunt but kind guide on how to swap self-pity for small, intentional moves in a more positive direction. Welcome to another bonus edition of the MTB Podcast, a segment of the weekly episode that I call Afterthoughts. This is my favorite part of these weekly presentations because it gives me a chance to dig a little deeper into something that came up during the main episode. All right, let me start with this. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can pick the next right move. That's agency. Not the lottery numbers, not the timing of a layoff, not the coworker who emails in all caps and CCs your boss, just the next right move you can actually make. By agency, I don't mean magic or denial. This isn't manifest it or pretend it doesn't hurt. Agency is choosing your response inside real limits. Think of Viktor Frankl's line we quoted in the main presentation. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. Now, that space is small, but it's powerful. It's where we buy a breath, remember who we are, and then make a choice we won't regret tomorrow. Sometimes the choice is tiny. Send one email, or don't send that snarky response. Take a 10-minute walk, text a friend, put a task on the calendar, but tiny still counts when it's on purpose, when it's intentional. Here's the tone for this episode. I'm going to try to be direct but kind. We'll name grief, anger, depression, and no tiptoeing, and we'll talk about how to stand back up without shaming ourselves. If you've been feeding the self-pity loop, I get it. I've been there. But we're going to try something more useful than another round of why me. Keep this in mind as we go along. Agency doesn't mean try harder. It means try differently on purpose. That's our job for the next 20 minutes or so. Find that little space and learn what differently on purpose looks like in your real life. Okay, so let's start by sorting life into 3 buckets because everything feels impossible when it's all sloshing around in one big pail. So bucket 1 is control. That's the stuff you can do today without anyone's permission. It could be set a consistent sleep window, reach out to 2 people via text, block 30 minutes on your calendar to submit job applications. Put a walk on the schedule. Prep tomorrow's lunch. These are boring, unglamorous moves, which is exactly why they work. When your brain says, fix everything, answer with, I'll fix this 1 square foot right now. Bucket 2 is influence. Those times when you can't force the outcome, but you can nudge the odds. That'll be things like having calm conversations, setting boundaries, making clear requests, maybe doing a little coalition building. You can ask your manager for expectations in writing so they're clear, or tell an obnoxious MAGA relative, I'm not going to discuss that topic. Maybe it's requesting a payment plan if you're strapped for cash, or teaming up with neighbors on a shared goal or project. Influence means you keep asking clearly and calmly, more than once if needed, without getting hostile. And you document everything. Dates, emails, agreements, outcomes. That steady follow-up plus proof makes it harder to ignore you and much easier to get a yes from people. You're not the boss of everyone around you, but you can make it easier for them to do the right thing and harder for them to flat out ignore you. Okay, bucket 1 was control, bucket 2 was influence, and bucket number 3 is accept. Not because it's fair, but because it's reality. The past is in ink, and it's not erasable. Other people's choices belong to them. The economy, the weather, random bad luck, they don't answer to you, no matter how much you complain. Acceptance isn't giving up. Acceptance is refusing to waste more energy on something that won't move. When you stop arm wrestling the unchangeable, you can put both hands to work on what is changeable. Here's why this matters. Mis-sorting drains energy. Right? Correct sorting restores momentum. If you pile things like the past or my ex's behavior or interest rates into the control bucket, you'll feel like a failure all day long. Put them in the accept bucket and move on. Load up the control bucket with the next right behaviors and fill the influence bucket with things like the conversations you need to have and the boundaries you need to set. You know, things that could actually shift the direction of your life. Stop feeding the self-pity loop by wrestling with what you can't control. Drop it in the accept bucket and then spend your energy with the stuff that belongs in control and influence. Look, here's a quick hack for you. When a problem pops up, try saying this out loud. Which bucket? If it's control, okay, do a 10-minute action right away. If it's influence, draft the email or decide on the boundary. If it's accept, if that's the bucket where it belongs, take a breath, unclench your jaw, put it in the accept bucket, and move on to a bucket that'll deliver a return on the investment of your time. All right, let me do a quick tour of some tools that actually work. These are evidence-based, pocket-sized, not gimmicky things. This is not pop psychology. These are tools that have been studied and proven to work. Now, if one doesn't work well for you, then try another. This is not meant to be exhaustive by any means. It's just a brief overview of a few of the ones that I like to give you an idea of some different psychological modalities, right? Different methods, if you will, of working through difficult times. So first up is CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT, it's a type of psychotherapy that helps people manage their problems by changing how they think and behave. So sort of the core idea, here's the idea. Catch the thought trap and then reframe it. So these are probably CBT's three biggest thought traps. The first is all or nothing. Right? It's this all or nothing thinking. You blew one interview, so you think you're unemployable. Okay, that's thought trap number one. The second one, fortune telling. Oh, this will definitely fail. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy. You're always doom and gloom, forecasting, fortune telling what's the bad thing that's going to happen to you. And the third one is mind reading. Oh, they hate me, or they're out to get me. Right? Always reading the negative into someone else. When you hear one of these or anything like them, when you start to have that all or nothing thinking, your fortune telling or your mind reading, run this script in your head. What's the evidence? And then what's an equally believable, less catastrophic story? The idea is to take your initial horrible take on whatever it is and reframe it into something a lot less doom and gloom. Now, I would encourage you to add a dose of Hanlon's razor while you're at it. Now, that's just a thought exercise where you don't attribute to malice what can be explained by messiness, forgetfulness, stupidity, or plain old incompetence. Right? Your friend didn't text back? Well, it could be that they just don't care about you. Or it could be their phone died, their kid got sick, or they just got swamped with work stuff. Right? Reframe doesn't mean pretend. It means pick a more reasonable explanation. And never attribute something to malice if it could be as easily explained by stupidity or incompetence. Right? And whatever you do, don't pick your loudest fear as the reason for what happened. All right, next up is what's called behavioral activation. right? Action first, and then mood follows. As opposed to thinking, oh, well, I can only do something if I'm in the right mood. Nope, take the action first and your mood will catch up. For example, when motivation is missing, which it often is, especially during difficult times, just do the tiniest starter action. Right? Do the tiny thing that starts the bigger thing. Open the resume file. Okay, it's open now. Maybe I'll work on it. Set a 10-minute timer. Right? Put on your walking shoes. Rinse one dish if the sink is full. Right? Small moves aren't just symbolic. They're chemical. Your brain rewards initiation and makes the next step easier. So do the tiny thing that starts the bigger thing. The third tool you can look into is called ACT, A-C-T, which stands for Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, or training. It teaches skills to accept difficult thoughts or feelings instead of constantly wrestling with them. Right? So the ACT tool tells us to identify or clarify our values and then take committed action, even if it involves discomfort. Right? You can accept these difficult feelings, identify your values, and take committed action. Think of it like this. You don't have to feel great to do the right thing. Right? I can feel anxious and send that email that's making me nervous. Right? Name the value you're serving. Care, courage, stability. Expect the jitters and then proceed anyways. We're not waiting for a fearless version of you to step up. We're building a faithful one that's just faithful to your values, in spite of the fear or any other negative thoughts you're wrestling with. All right, last but not least, the last one I want to cover is what we call the growth mindset and grit. The core idea here is similar to exercise, right? It's there practice reps and feedback. Right? Practice reps plus feedback grows our skills and abilities. So it's important, though, to swap scarcity thinking for a growth mindset. Scarcity thinking is a belief that where we are and what we can do is limited and fairly permanent. A growth mindset believes in the power of progress. So instead of thinking, I can't do that, we think, I can't do that yet. Here's my next rep. Here's the next thing I'm going to practice. I'm going to try. Right? I can't do that yet. Yet is the word that we focus on. Missed holding that boundary with the obnoxious relative? Okay. Try it again. Maybe write out a script and practice it and try holding that boundary again tomorrow. That job interview went sideways? Okay. Ask for feedback. Role play answers with someone you trust. And schedule time to submit 2 more applications. Grit isn't clenched teeth. It's consistent practice tied to a purpose that you care about. Right? You can wrap these tools together and you get a loop you can run through every day. Right? Catch the thought trap and then pick a truer story. Oh, and then do one tiny action. But act for your values, even if you're nervous. Log the practice rep and then adjust. Right? Do it again. Catch the thought trap. Pick a truer story. Do one tiny action. Right? None of this is flashy, but it's all been proven to be extremely effective. Now, I know I threw a lot at you just now. I'll be putting all of this into a blog post soon, so make sure you're signed up for my newsletter at thecodaproject.com. All right, now I'm willing to bet that there will be people listening to this podcast who think, whatever, that shit won't work for me. In my experience, when it comes to things like this, lots of people think they're special little snowflakes and their experience is so completely different from anyone else who's ever existed that this can't possibly work for them. They're a completely unique case. Well, I'm not sure how to politely roll my eyes and say bullshit. So instead, let's walk through a few of the most common pushbacks. I'll try to do this with care and not be too snarky or combative. My goal isn't to win an argument with your pain. My goal is to help loosen your pain's grip just enough for you to try some of these things so that you can start to move in a positive direction. All right, common objection number 1. You don't understand how I feel. Okay, you're right. I don't live inside your body. Your feelings are real. But there's a little bit of math we can use here. Okay? Pain times isolation equals worse pain. Pain times connection equals bearable pain. So try this tiny move today. Name one feeling and one need associated with it. Right? I feel overwhelmed. I need a listening ear. Then call or text one person. And make it simple. Got 5 minutes? I don't need fixes, just a witness. Now, don't take advantage of people. Don't ask for 5 minutes to vent and then drone on for an hour. Use it as a boundary for yourself. Spend those 5 minutes letting those feelings out and then put them in the accept bucket. Your feelings are real, but that doesn't mean they need to be in the driver's seat. Okay, common objection number 2. There's no lesson here. This is just a tragedy. Yes, horrible events have no cosmic reason. They are simply tragic. We don't have to pretend our pain is something else to try to make it palatable. The pivot that I'm suggesting is this. When I talk about finding lessons, these lessons aren't justifications or even explanations. They're protections. We're not saying this needed to happen. We're saying, given that it did happen, what guardrail can I build so I'm safer next time? Or so that someone else is? Maybe it's setting a boundary, learning a skill, using a checklist, creating a better policy, focusing more on relationships and less on your job. It's hard to make a tragedy meaningful, but we can make it useful for the future. Common objection number 3. Why bother? Nothing ever works out for me. Do you hear that always never language there? That is a classic thought trap. It's one of the very things I'm talking about. Look, let's consider actual data. List 2 small things that did work when you tried them. Anything from, I kept my promise to walk twice last week. All right? Or I sent that uncomfortable email. Okay, now do one 10-minute action right now. Set the timer and start the thing that starts the bigger thing. Motivation will meet you halfway once you're moving. But don't feed me the, oh, woe is me, nothing ever works out for me. I guarantee you the facts do not support that at all. Common objection number 4. I'm broken. This is just who I am. Look, I get the exhaustion that's conveyed by that sentence. But traits aren't destiny. Skills grow with reps and feedback. So try this swap. Not, I can't, I'm broken, but I can't yet. Here's my next exercise, my next rep. I missed the workout day. I'll make sure it's on the calendar for tomorrow. Got angry and fired off a nasty reply all email? Send an apology and then commit to taking a breath before taking action the next time you're angry. You're not broken. You're just a work in progress. Objection number 5. This may be one of the most common ones, even though I've listed it 5th. Therapy doesn't work for me. Well, it's totally possible that what you tried before, if you did actually try therapy, it's totally possible that it didn't fit. Things like modality and therapist match, they do matter a lot. Right? There's CBT and ACT that we talked about, but there's trauma-informed approaches, there's groups, there's sliding scale clinics, telehealth. If one wrench didn't turn the bolt, it wasn't the only wrench. Think try differently, not try the same thing harder. And certainly not try that thing that didn't work before at all. But remember, therapy isn't just one thing. It's a generic term for many, many different practitioners and approaches, and you certainly haven't genuinely tried them all. All right, one common fatalistic objection, the last on my list here, is why bother? No one needs me to be healthy. When people say this, it usually comes from thinking something like, no one needs my money or needs me to do any tasks for them. It's utilitarian. But people also need things like your presence, the continuity of having you around, and the relief of you still being here. Children, even adult children, generally want their parents around. Parents need their kids, even their adult kids, to be alive. Friends need your laughter, your stories. Teams and neighbors need your steady, ordinary showing up. And younger kids, yours or someone else's, they need to see what coping looks like, healthy coping. They need you to set an example for what it means to be resilient and to live according to your values. People don't only need your usefulness, they need you. If any of these common objections hit a nerve, good. That's the point. Remember, we're not denying there's a storm. We're picking the next right move to help us get through it. Now let me link this back to our reading from Hebrews in the main lesson, in the main presentation this week. If you recall, the word behind discipline there is the Greek word paideia. Think education, formation, training, not punishment. It's the same root as pediatric. It's the idea of shaping a whole person over time. So the invitation isn't grit your teeth because you deserve this as punishment. It's learn on purpose because you're worth the investment. Hard seasons in our lives are a classroom, not a courtroom. Here's the takeaway in plain English. Hard times will form you. Agency, your agency, decides how. You don't pick the storm, but you do pick your practice in the storm, what you rehearse, what you repeat, who you call, what boundary you set, which tiny action you put on the calendar and commit to doing. That's paideia in real life. Reps that turn insight into skill. And yes, it's okay to roll your eyes at the lesson before you do it. Okay, I'll give you that. Eye rolling is permitted. Quitting class isn't. You need to do this. You need to learn and grow. So let's set our aim. Right? Let hardship turn you into a wiser helper, not a hardened cynic. Wiser helpers learn the skill, they set the boundary, ask for support, and then use what they've gained to make somebody else's path a little smoother. Cynicism, it feels smart for about 5 minutes. But wisdom gets shit done. We're choosing wisdom, one small, deliberate rep at a time. As a reminder, here's the short version of my El Paso to Virginia detour that I talked about in the main presentation. This is the 2-minute cut with the lesson baked in. I was on track to be a Catholic deacon. Then I reported our pastor for sexual harassment, and suddenly I was not spiritually ready, and my formation was indefinitely delayed. And that stung. Around the same time, work dangled a promotion. We moved from Michigan to El Paso, stretched for a house we loved, and the promotion went to someone else as a favor between higher-ups. Cue the slow drip of credit card math and the mantra of, what did I do to deserve this? Playing on repeat in my head. Church setback, career betrayal, debt, self-pity loop. I was stuck rehashing the unfairness like it was my full-time job. The pivot I made wasn't glamorous at all. I realized I was spending more energy narrating my misery than changing anything, so I gave that energy a job. 9 months of resumes, a recruiter, interviews, rinse and repeat. The offer finally came in late 2009, shortly after the housing crash, and the job was across the country. We said yes. I moved first, 9 months apart from my wife and our 2 boys, trying to sell a house in a bad market while learning a new role. Zero control over the economy. Plenty of control over my daily behaviors. Show up early, learn fast, take the next assignment, keep the budget, call home, sleep on purpose. Not heroic, just consistent. Here's what I learned from that. Translate pain into a plan. Skills, boundaries, help, action. I didn't become fearless. I became deliberate. And the moment things began to shift was the moment I stopped treating the situation like a courtroom where I was being judged as incompetent and started treating it like a classroom where I could focus on learning and growing. Once I stopped rehashing the unfairness of it all and started focusing on the next positive step, momentum returned. That's agency. Not magic, just the next right move, again and again, until the path opens up. Okay, let me try to wrap this up by saying that whether you believe the Bible is divinely inspired or not, it has some wise things to say about how each of us has value by the mere fact that we're human beings. Unfortunately, it's easy to forget that, especially when we're going through hard times. It's easy to get stuck in a cycle of suffering, and to get stuck in that suffering loop. And when we're in it, we see everything through the lens of that suffering. And that lens is skewed extremely negative. It takes a world of possibility and potential and covers it with doom and gloom. When we make decisions from that negative place, all of our negative predictions are nothing more than self-fulfilling prophecies. The author Richard Bach wrote, "Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours." So why do we do that? Well, because we're stuck in a suffering loop. I'm trying to help us all see that there are many, many better ways of dealing with the hardships that life is inevitably going to throw at us. Now, I'm not trying to downplay personal pain and tragedy, because we don't escape the suffering loop by pretending life is easy. We escape it by using our agency, one small, deliberate choice at a time. You can't control the storm, but you can pick the next right move. Sort things into those buckets. Control, influence, accept. Catch the thought trap and choose a story that's more true, more likely to be true. Do the tiny action that starts the bigger action. And choose actions based on your core values, even if you're unmotivated or when your emotions are trying to take the wheel. Your feelings are real, but you don't have to let them be in the driver's seat. Personal growth isn't always flashy. It's about doing the reps, getting the feedback, and making course corrections that really start to add up. So use the coming week as a trial run. Try one thing. Learn from it. Stand back up when you wobble and try differently, on purpose, intentionally. Every small win, a little bit better sleep, a 10-minute walk, a boundary you've kept, right? Every small win gives you more energy for the people you love and the community that needs you. That's the point. A happier, healthier life for you that spills outward into steadier relationships, kinder neighborhoods, and wider doors for everyone. You don't have to feel ready for this. If you wait for that, you might be waiting forever. What you need to do is just start small. Choose that first step, put it on the calendar, and keep going. Let's do it together. Now, if you are in acute crisis, or if you're thinking about harming yourself, please call or text 988 in the U.S. or use your local emergency resources. You matter, and help is available. Again, you can call or text 988 in the U.S. or call your local emergency number. All right, thanks for joining me for this episode of Afterthoughts. If you want to keep up on everything I'm doing, please head over to thecodaproject.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You'll get notifications whenever I publish anything, and I'll keep you updated on the weekly live streams of mythologizing the Bible. Also, if you subscribe for free over at The Coda Project, you'll start receiving my weekly resource called The Weekly Compass. This is a brief, once-a-week guide on a single core value. Think of it as a mini lesson plan for personal growth. It's perfect for families, students, and adults because I include discussion questions designed for each age group. Each weekly issue centers on a short reflection about the week's value, followed by discussion questions that are tailored for different age groups, from kids to college students to adults, and a simple take-action step, like a small challenge or exercise that you can do to put that value into practice. Especially for families, it's designed to be an easy way to ensure that at least once a week you're making time to talk about morality, ethics, and core values. So if you're interested, go subscribe for free at thecodaproject.com. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep seeking the truth.